Welcome everyone to the Data Octagon of Data Innovation Summit 2021. I hope you're as excited as I am about today's topics, many of which revolve around terms that are relatively new, among other data mesh, data fabric, and for a change, these terms aren't necessarily related to technologies that are changing things, but processes that are changing in response to technologies that have enabled us to do things that weren't necessarily impossible before, but are certainly very easy to do today. I think COVID and the situation around the world has really accelerated people looking for solutions on how to make things more efficient, on how to work with teams, and we've been able to look at the best practices from other parts of software industries and see if we can adopt them to the advanced analytics and AI practices that we have wanted to do, but maybe haven't always done in a very structured way. Something that we've been talking about for many years, for instance, is master data management. But when we introduce analytics, the question is if there's something equivalent, perhaps something like master AI management. And it turns out that that's a lot of what the discussion is actually about. How can we approach analytics in an equally principled way, where traditionally we've only been concerned about making sure that the data is authoritative. What is the view of the customer? What is the view of sales and that kind of thing? But it turns out that it's quite necessary, especially when you want to achieve AI at scale, that you need to be equally principled in managing your models, how the models are built, how they're measured, exactly the way you would have done with MDM systems in the past. Another term that is cropping up now is algorithmic business and scaling AI to your entire business. And all these experiments and little SWAT teams and centers of excellence are needing to adopt these best practices from other domains into AI and analytics. And that is what I also expect a lot of the discussions today to be about. Another thing that has been cropping up is that vendors have been referring to their solutions as platforms, not necessarily just as technologies for storing data or for presenting things. And the word platform conjures up a target for development, meaning everybody that's out and being a citizen data scientist is not just experimenting and presenting things or consuming things, but also working as a sort of springboard for other people to work off of, so that if you're a citizen data scientist and you've curated some data or worked with some data, that's something that another one of your colleagues might build some of their functionality on. And so all the vendors now are speaking in terms of platforms and what their platforms can produce. I expect a lot of discussion to center on that as well. And then lastly, given that we've become such experts at a lot of these topics and seen what works and what doesn't work, we've started to see people adopt best practices and be pretty confident in which of those practices actually scale quicker than others. And as things become best practices, they also become commodified. We see services that offer AI features that normally before might have required a team of at the very least subject matter experts, if not expert programmers, to both develop and deploy and deliver, whereas nowadays non-experts at technology, but nevertheless domain experts, are able to take this technology and bring it into an organization with not so much code skills. And so it's going to be interesting to see in these discussions whether it's a completely no-code future, or if there's going to be some kind of ratio between coding and no coding, and what is that ratio going to look like? So I think we're primed for a number of super interesting discussions today during the day, and I hope you'll join us for all the panels where we're going to be going through these topics. Hope to see you soon in the ether.